I had no idea that I learned my greatest life lesson from fishing. My dad, my brother, and I are sitting in our boat. I'm drinking my can of Orange Crush. I'm eating a fish sandwich, and I'm watching my fishing rod. And it starts bouncing up and down. And before I can say, Dad, we got a fish on, my dad has leaped from his seat, pushed my brother and I out of the way, and he's grabbed that rod. Whoa, Bryson, this one's yours. Here you go. It's a big one. I'm 9 years old. I grab that rod and I start reeling in the fish. Now my dad's behind me and he is prancing up and down. Don't lose the fish, don't lose the fish. You don't understand. There's only one rule on Dad's boat. You don't lose a fish. Don't lose the fish, don't lose the fish. Okay, now let it run. Now reel it in, now let it run. I get the fish close to the boat and my dad says, Aaron, grab the net. Are you going where your big ones are? Are you going where the big ones are? Are you going where your big fish are? What's a big fish to you? Is your big fish your next big sale? Is it your next big customer? Is it your next big date? Is it your next job? Are you going where your big fish are? There's a Chinese proverb that says, the greatest fish are never caught. With fishing with Dad, I learned that the greatest life lessons are never taught. The greatest life lessons are never taught. It was through fishing with Dad he taught me many lessons. At 4 a.m, Bryson, Aaron, it's time to get up. Let's go fishing. We'd walk the half a kilometer to the marina. He'd get us in the boat. He'd fire up the engine. He'd slowly troll out of the marina. We'd round the corner out of the cove and then full throttle all the way down. We'd be flying along through calm water, but as soon as we got past the lighthouse, that's where the rough seas were. I'd say, Dad, where are we going? We're going where the big ones are. Wow, we're going where the big ones are. And sure enough, past the lighthouse, the seas are rough. And I can feel the boat come up and crash down, and come up and crash down. Soon enough, Dad pulls back the throttle. We troll along, and we get our 3 fishing lines in the water. It's breakfast time and we're hungry, so Dad throws my brother and I each a can of Orange Crush. He opens a bag of Cheetos and gives us our fish sandwiches. We can have whatever we want because Mom's not here. I'm drinking my can of Orange Crush, I'm eating my fish sandwich, and I'm watching the fishing rod. It starts bouncing up and down. My dad leaps for it, grabs the rod. Whoa, Bryson, this one's yours. Here you go. It's a big one. I grab that rod and I start reeling in that fish. I get the fish close to the boat and my dad says, Aaron, grab the net. There's my 6-year-old brother, 6-foot net. My brother's got the net over the side of the boat. I have the fish close to the boat. He pulls it in the net and lands it in the boat. Way to go, boys. You caught the big one. Let me ask you, what did you like about that story? What did you see in that story?
Sound effects.
Sound effects.
Your father's faith in you.
Wow. Wow.
What was that?
My father's faith in me. What else did you see? What did you like?
Teamwork.
Teamwork. Some great lessons coming out. What else did you see?
The metaphor, go where the big fish are. Are you going where the big fish are?
Excellent. Anything else that you liked or that you saw?
Body language.
Body language. Anything else?
He took us step by step into the boat from the moment you woke up, right, to the calm and the rough and past the sail.
So
chronological order, yeah.
Okay.
Very impactful.
one
I
or two.
think the opportunity to relate to the story, the father-son bond and interaction.
Relatable. Alan?
Just the way you set it up, the word pictures of going down, getting in the boat, drawing out, and then getting the rougher seas.
Wonderful. Wonderful. We could keep going with this for a while. Welcome to the next level of storytelling. Today I'm going to give you 3 sections and ideas on taking your storytelling to the next level. In each section, I'll give you a demo story, like you just saw the fishing story. We'll break it down, discuss it, and learn from it. So 3 different sections, 3 different stories, we'll learn from each of them. So that was the fishing story, and you gave a lot of good points about what you liked. You have a handout in front of you. The first section is how to tell a story. And you'll see on your handout there's 3 building blocks. The foundational building block is practice, and we'll come to that last. But you also have show, and you also have commit. I want to focus on the building block of commit right now. This is the next level of storytelling, fully committing to your story. What I mean by that is when you fully commit to your story, you're not just retelling the story, you're reliving the story. When I tell you this fishing story, I'm going back 25 years, and I can tell you exactly how that boat looks. I can tell you exactly what we saw around that day. I'm back in that time reliving the story. So when you tell your stories, when you use your stories, don't retell, relive them. Let me ask you, what was the emotion, atmosphere, and mood on the boat that day? Excitement. Anticipation. Did I say it was exciting? Did I say it was so exciting that day?
Your animation gave that away.
So you were able to pick up on the excitement, maybe the frantic of my dad, how exciting it was to have the fish on the line. So without saying what's going on, I was able to show what's going on. So don't retell your story, relive the story. Don't say what's happening, show what's happening. So fully committing means you're right into the story, you're reliving it, you are feeling the emotions of your story that particular day. The second part to committing to the story is being congruent in both what you say, what you show with your body, and also how your face looks. There's a line in the story where I say, or my dad says, Aaron, get the net. Would it have the same effect if my dad said, Aaron, get the net? Not the same effect, right?
Or even worse, when your dad told Aaron to get the net.
Absolutely. So I changed the tone and maybe the spacing of the words, totally different meaning. So being congruent in both your voice and what you say, what you show, and how your face looks. How do you learn this? I don't know how to teach you that. The only thing I can say is, and this comes to the foundational building block of practice, it comes through practice. Practice will help you become congruent in how you tell your stories and also fully committing to being in the story and reliving it. The second building block I want to focus on is showing the story. So there's a lot going on there, and you can show the story a couple ways. You can use dialogue with characters. There wasn't too much dialogue in the fishing story. A couple key lines. Aaron, get the net. Whoa, Bryson, this one's yours. It's a big one. Dad, where are we going? So a couple key lines that my characters said. But let me ask you this. What if I, instead of saying, tell me what's going on in this scene. What's the action happening here? Whoa, Bryson, this one's yours. Here you go. It's a big one. What's the action going on here?
He's passing it off.
Passing the rod off to me. Exactly. Again, I didn't say, in the story, I wasn't going to say, whoa, Bryson, this one's yours. Then he passes me the rod and says, here you go. It's a big one. It doesn't work the same. Without saying the words, he passed me the rod. Again, I can show you how he's passing me the rod. The lesson here is, don't say it, show it. Don't say what's happening, show what's happening. Whoa, Bryson, this one's yours. Here you go. It's a big one. Less words. I'm using less words and not saying what's happening. I can show what's happening in the story. So dialogue with characters. You can use movement to show what's going on. You can also show what's going on in your story by using the stage right. As you saw in this story, I was mostly centered. Some speakers are way to the left, way to the right. That's fine if that's your style. If your style is not animated, dynamic, that's okay. Everyone has their own style. I've seen some very powerful presenters just stay grounded to the center, yet still communicate a very good message. As you saw in my fishing story, I stayed center, and I could still show action. Whoa, Bryson, this one's yours. Here you go, it's a big one. Very much centered. So you can use movement to show what's going on, but don't feel like you have to be way over there or way over here. Do what suits your style. We come to our foundational building block of practice. This is what gives you the ability to show what's going on and fully commit to the story. I had a university instructor in a communications course tell me, when you have your final presentation put together, rehearse it 10 times. When it's totally finalized, practice and rehearse it at least 10 times. Once you've done it 10 times, it somewhat becomes memory. You're not memorizing word for word, but practicing it 10 times, you have the flow, the pattern of points you're making, the stories that come up. So when you practice your story, you're not thinking of the words to say next. You're not thinking of what happens next. It's just there. So when you're not thinking of the words to say, when you're not thinking of what happens next, you can fully commit and be in the story and be in it for your audience and bring them into your story as well. Also, when you practice, when you rehearse your story over and over and over again, you can tighten it up. Take some words out, take the fluff out, things that don't add to meaning in your story, you'll learn to take them out with practice. Condense it down and be more impactful. I want to move you to an exercise, and you can see it on your sheet. So under the first section of how to tell a story, exercise. What story can you tell that is perfect for showing action? So we're going to take 4 minutes. It's on your own. You're not sharing it with anyone in this room, and no one's coming up here. For 4 minutes, I want you to think about, dig through your past life experiences. What story could you tell that would be good for showing action? My purpose with this is I want you to start thinking about trying out some of these tools at your next speaking opportunity. The VP Education schedules you for a speech. I don't know what to talk about. I'm trying to give you some ideas to talk about here. So 4 minutes, dig through your life history of something that would work well to show action or to show what we've talked about for storytelling. 4 examples for you. I've seen a Toastmaster give a talk on their first time parachuting, skydiving, amazing. I've seen a Toastmaster demonstrate how to change a bike tire, how to make a pudding. It was a bread pudding. They demonstrated it right in the meeting. And I've seen a very effective Toastmaster talk about how they were mistakenly arrested by the police. So 4 excellent stories I've seen about that could demonstrate action. So let's take 4 minutes. Think of your life experiences. What could you use to try out some of these storytelling tools in your next presentation? So take 4 minutes, and I'll let you know when time's up. What have you done? What are some of your experiences? Things you've tried: archery, skydiving, bungee jumping. Ask yourself, what did I learn? I went skydiving, what did I learn? Try to take 2 dogs for a walk, what did I learn? Hopefully that was helpful in getting you to think about ideas for your next story to demonstrate some of the tools we're talking about today. I'll move you into our second section of today's presentation, which is why tell a story. So same as before, I'll give you a story as an example, we'll talk about it, and then we'll learn from it. The music was pumping. The disco ball was hung and lighting up the room, and the air was thick with the smell of Old Spice. It was my grade 7 graduation dance. And the whole night, all I wanted to do was build up the courage to ask Anna to dance. But I didn't do it. I never asked her to dance. In fact, I didn't dance with anybody that night. My dad happened to chaperone the dance. And the next day, we were at home in the living room, and we were sitting down, some paper and pens out in front of us. My dad said, Bryson, how come you didn't dance with anybody last night? I don't know, I just didn't feel like it. Really? Or was there something else? Did you not have the courage to ask somebody to dance? Yeah, I guess. Bryson, I know what you need. He took out a piece of paper and a pen and wrote a word on it, turned the paper around, and showed it to me. You need this. Dad knew exactly what I needed. Self-confidence. For most of my life, I've been a shy, quiet, reserved, scared person for most of my life. Dad knew what I needed, but I didn't do anything to change that. I graduated from grade 7 into high school, and I can recall my grade 10 science class. I was doing a presentation to a group of 30 students who I knew, yet my legs were shaking, my face was bright red, I talked really fast, faster than I talk today, and I had these big wet marks start showing up right about here. Can you relate? But I did nothing to change that. Graduated from high school, no problems, went out into the working world. I happened to go to work for my dad's company. I was in his office, September 2001. Dad sat me down across from his desk, and my dad said to me, Bryson, you're going to Toastmasters. For many years, I did nothing. And it took my dad pushing me to go to Toastmasters. So maybe there's something you're working towards, something that you need. And maybe you're hearing this message today because you needed someone to push you to go out and get what you needed. Pretend that you're not a Toastmaster. Pretend you got invited to a club's open house, or you were invited to, or you came out to a meeting to see what Toastmasters was about. Hearing that story, would you be more or less likely to try Toastmasters or join Toastmasters? More likely. In fact, I use this story. This is a condensed version, but I use this story if I get invited to speak at an open house for a Toastmaster club, or there's a demonstration meeting for a new club. I use this story. I use it to influence the audience and have them take action. Now, of course, I can't make them take action, right? I can only lead them to take action. So I use this story to influence people to take action, try Toastmasters, or join Toastmasters. This comes into why we tell a story. Someone famous once said, you give a speech to tell a story and make a point. That's it. You give a speech to tell a story and to make a point. The purpose in using a story is to influence the audience to action. Use a story to make your point, influencing them to action. Now for you, the speech crafter or the story crafter, here's your fill in the blank in this section. To help you craft your message for influence and action, before you write your speech and story, ask yourself, what do I want the audience to do, think, or feel after hearing this? That's your fill in the blank. What do I want the audience to do, think, or feel after my speech and after my story? I'm going to ask you this again. What did you see up here? Did I reveal something about myself? Did something seem real, genuine, or authentic? And what part was that?
You displayed your vulnerable side.
Sandy said the exact word, vulnerability. Can we all agree there was some vulnerability up here? Was it a weak point or strong point in the story?
Strong.
Interesting. So here I am talking about my weakness. I don't have self-confidence, yet you all saw it as a strong point. Here's your next level of storytelling. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be vulnerable. Because if you're willing to share with the audience something vulnerable, it connects with them. Vulnerability connects. There's an amazing TED Talk by a lady by the name of Brené Brown. TED Talk, okay, here's some OEAs. TED Talk by Brené Brown on vulnerability, very interesting. Use vulnerability in your stories. And here's the formula for it. The formula is, tell the audience when you were vulnerable, how you weren't good, how you failed, where you fell short. Tell them what changed it, and then tell them how you got to where you are now. So you heard, I was shy, unconfident, scared person. Something happened, and we'll talk about that in a moment, and now I've got my confidence. That's the formula. Show the vulnerability, what helped you, here's where you are now. This comes to the second point. Here's the fill in the blank. Never be the hero in your own story. Let me ask you, who is the hero in that story you just saw? Dad. Wasn't me. You might say Dad and Toastmasters were the heroes, and all of you who helped me get there, but Dad was the hero. You may have seen a speaker that comes out, and the impression you get is, I'm great. I'm wonderful. I'm the expert. No one helped me get here. I'm self-made. Don't tell the audience how great you are. Show the audience how great they are. Dad pushed me. Dad's the hero. Toastmasters is the hero. So show the vulnerability where you were, the hero, the person, the book, whatever that gave you the idea or drove you to action, and here's where you are now. That's the next level of storytelling. Be vulnerable and show and explain who the hero was in your own story. We're all wired from birth to like stories. If you have children or grandchildren, do you often read them a bedtime story? Yeah. We love stories. Adults love stories. Isn't it great to sit down and watch Netflix and a good series or a good movie or something? We all love a good story. Stories are even applicable in the business world. If you watch Dragon's Den, you'll often see the inventor or business owner come out, tell a quick story about how they invented the product, how they started the company, and then they go into their pitch. So we're going to move into an exercise, 10 minutes long. I want you to have a business focus in this, because how many of us speak for our companies or sell or speak about a product or service? A number of us. So we're going to put this into a business application for 10 minutes. The first 4 minutes, answer the question, tell me how you've helped a customer at work. So the question is, and this is the fill in the blank, tell me how you've helped a customer at work. And this is leading into being able to tell a story about your business to an audience. So maybe you're a student, maybe you're retired, maybe you don't work anymore. Tell me a story of how you helped someone this week, this month, this year. So 4 minutes, how have you helped a customer at work? Or how does your product help your customers? 4 minutes on your own. Find a partner at your table. For 3 minutes, one person shares how they helped a customer story, then the other person shares. So I'll prompt you. For 4 minutes, work on your own. You're writing an outline for a speech right now about work. For 3 minutes, you present. 3 minutes, your partner presents. Any questions? Okay, so take 4 minutes on your own, write out your outline to your how you helped a customer at work speech. So if you've got your story, done is better than perfect. If you've got your story, grab a partner, you share, then they share. I had to do this how to help a customer at work question because we want real world application. We don't speak at Toastmasters to get good at speaking at Toastmasters. We go to Toastmasters to get good at speaking in the real world, whether that's for work, for your community, for whatever you happen to do. So that's why I want you to do this work exercise, to get good at telling a story about how you help customers at work, because that can very well communicate and connect with your business audience better than, here's our company, here's what we do, here's the product we sell. Get into a story, very much more captivating. We'll move to our final section, which is on what's in a story. So story first, a couple questions, and then we'll learn from it. It was my cousin's 6th birthday party. We were in the backyard. The balloons were hung, the streamers were streaming, and the chairs were arranged in a circle. I'm 4 years old. I don't know what's going on. The music starts playing, and I hear my mom's voice. Bryson, walk around the chairs. And like a conveyor belt, the children start moving around the chairs. The music's playing, everyone's having fun and laughing, and all of a sudden, the music stops. There's my mom's voice. Bryson, find a chair, sit down, sit down. I get a chair. The adults are clapping, the children are laughing, but there's one girl who's got tears rolling down her face. But we play again. The music starts up and around we go. We get down to 3 people and 2 chairs. There's me at 4 years old and my 5 and 6-year-old football playing cousins. The music starts and around we go. The music stops, but this time it's me who's standing up. And now I know how it feels. What's the message to this story?
Realities of life.
Realities of life. Absolutely. What's the
Musical chairs.
Kids' games are cruel.
kids' games are cruel. What's the message? What's that? Empathy. Another message to this story. What's the message?
Life is tough.
Life is tough. Is there another message?
You can get through anything.
You can get through anything. Another message.
You have to experience it to know what it's like.
Absolutely. Thank you from the back. You have to experience it to know what it's like. The point I want to make is one story, many messages. There's one story here, but many messages. Some of you may have told a musical chair story already, yet had a completely different message than what mine would be. I didn't want to tell you the message for this very reason. But there's many messages to this one story. We could all in this room get up and tell a musical chair story, and each of us would have a unique perspective and a different message to go along with it, right? The next level of storytelling is this. Never underestimate the value of your life experiences and the value of the stories you have to tell. The world is waiting to hear your story, and it's only you that can deliver that message. You all have unique stories, unique experiences, and you've all learned unique lessons from it. If your goal is to be a speaker on speaking, if you want to teach how to speak, you might say, well, there's already lots of people doing that. Who cares? You will present and tell stories different from how they would present and tell stories on speaking. So never underestimate the value of your stories. The world's waiting to hear your speech and your story. At the end of this section, I'll give you an exercise on developing ideas for speeches and stories, but hold on to that for a moment. So what's in a story? What do good books, good movies, and good speeches all have in common? It's 3 C's. This is a fill in the blank. What are the 3 C's that good books, good movies, and good speeches all have in common?
Content.
Content, that'd be a 4th C, sure. Yeah, they do have content.
Character.
That's one of them, characters. What else? You may or may not get these.
Conflict. Conflict.
Characters, conflict, there's 2. Third one's climax. Climax of the action. Good books, good movies, good speeches, characters, conflict, climax. In my stories today, not a lot of time to develop characters, but you got to sense my brother, 6-year-old brother, football playing cousins, so a little bit of character development. Was there a conflict in every story? Trying to get that big fish in. I got to find self-confidence. I got to find a chair. Conflict. And there was climax. We hit action points and then we ended. So the 3 C's in any good speech, as well as movies and books: characters, conflict, climax. Somewhere early on in your story, you want to tell the audience, where are you going? Where am I as the speaker taking my audience? And what do you get out of this? Now in the fishing story, the very first line I said was, I had no idea I'd learned my greatest life lesson from fishing. That set the scene for where am I going with this. Greatest life lesson, fishing, that's all you knew. But you knew I was going somewhere about that. So early on in your story and your presentations, give the audience a direction of where you're going. Here's where we're going today. Here's what you're going to get out of my presentation. If any of you have subscribed to or listened to Patricia Fripp, who's a well-known speech coach, she teaches the most important times in a speech and in a story, first 30 seconds, last 30 seconds. Heard that before? The most impactful moments, first 30 seconds, last 30 seconds. In the first 30, you want to grab your audience. You put in a good movie, what happens right away? Action. You're put into the action of what's going on in the story. So first 30 seconds, have action. Last 30 seconds, have impact. Here's what I'd suggest. First 30 seconds of your speech, use a story. Start with your story. Start right away with your story. That will help build connection. More specifically, start with a story, but start right in the middle of the action of that story. Take us to the most exciting scene right away. My fishing story, within 10, 20 seconds, we had the fish on the line, Dad's passing me the rod, right? I'm taking you into my story right away, but also directly into the action. So you hand out the 3 C's: characters, conflict, climax. Most important part of the speech, first 30 and last 30. So now, Jamie, if you don't mind, could you hand out the last handout? So coming around to you now is our final handout and our final exercise. These are questions to help you develop your story file. Because answer to yourself, but answer honestly. Has your VP Education ever scheduled you and you said, I don't know what to speak about? Ever happened to you? This is designed to help you get ideas for speeches and stories coming up. This is on your own right now for 5 minutes. You're not sharing it with anybody. Do this for 5 minutes, but this isn't enough. Take this home and work on this more. So go through these questions and just jot down whatever comes to mind. What comes to your mind in your life experiences? They say in comedy, and maybe Sandy, you can attest to this, they say in comedy, the best comedy comes from tragedy. I think Alan Warburton taught me that long ago. The best comedy comes from tragedy. The best stories come from your tragedies too. So jot down, where have you failed? When did you experience challenges, setbacks, pain, fear, tragedies? Where did you experience a breakthrough? Here's some positive. What have you achieved, won, succeeded at, or good at? Who are some of your life heroes? Who's helped you along the way? Think of your worsts, firsts, bests. Your first job, your first kiss, worst job, best boss. What are some of your hobbies? And of course, you can delve into your work experiences. Think way back to your paper routes, McDonald's days, whatever it happens to be. What's interesting that you've experienced in life? Have you traveled somewhere exotic, gone on a 3-month adventure, skydived, flown a plane? So on your own, for 5 minutes, just think about and jot down, point for now, some ideas that might come to mind. This is a start. This is just a start. You'll see on here, so last couple minutes, here's what we're going to do. I'll take some questions, I'll give you a homework assignment, and then we'll bring it to the close. So I'm going to jump to the homework assignment right now. What you have here are some questions to get you thinking about your life experiences. You spent 5 minutes on it. It can take a long time to really think about things that you've done in your life. Homework is, you can see this here is number 5 in your handout. Start a story file. I've given you some suggested headings. Use them if you like. Heading number 1, put this into an Excel spreadsheet, write it down on a piece of paper, whatever you like to do. What's the story? Is it the fishing story, the musical chairs? What was the lesson that you'd learned? Or some possible points that you could make with it. And then you can list the facts of the story, what actually happened. So take these questions, spend some time on it tonight, tomorrow, and forever to develop your stories and get an inventory of stories behind you so that when you have a message, hey, I got a story for that. That's the purpose with this. So when your VP Education says you're speaking next week, you can't say, I don't have any ideas. Now you don't have an excuse. Tell a story. Questions about today? Any questions? Things that weren't clear? Comments? Things that you've learned you might want to share? Who's got the
I have a question in regards to when you're telling a story on a one-to-one basis, what if someone interrupts you?
real life, isn't it? We could be in a, say we're in a hotel, the wait staff comes in, crash, it happens.
But how do you regain the momentum of that story you want to tell?
Two things. Or anyone got a suggestion for her? Suggestions? Okay. Two things I've learned. First is acknowledge what's going on. The hotel example, the plates crash. It's okay, everyone, they'll take care of it. We're back in business. So acknowledge what's happened, the disaster or whatever's gone on. Acknowledge it, come back to it. Don't give it any more attention. And for you to regain where you were, that's where the practice comes in. If you've practiced enough, you'll know where you were or what point you were on. And if not, as you see here, I have notes. I'm not a pro at memorizing everything. I got my stories down pat. My notes for today, I've got them up here. So nothing wrong with notes, in my opinion. I see pros use notes. So nothing wrong with having notes as a backup in case you really get off track, technology fails, whatever happens. Anything else? Questions?
I think just
Paul?
knowing your material when something happens, it doesn't matter what goes on, you're confident in yourself. There's always going to be stuff going on around you.
Exactly.
And you're always open to that, just, it's built in.
Mhm. Mhm.
Remember when we were at, this person had a heart attack right inside the class.
Wow. Yeah, life happens, doesn't it? Anyone not get a fill in the blank? Anyone miss a word? No one's missing a word? Okay, excellent. My closing comments for you. I have not climbed Mount Everest. I've not cured cancer. I haven't won a gold medal in the Olympics. I haven't made $1 million yet. All I have is 32 years of life experience. And whether you are younger than me or older than me, you have amazing life experiences. You have an amazing amazing inventory of stories to uncover. The world is waiting for your story, and it's a message that only you can deliver. Thank you all. The end.